Uh, yeah. Woke up with a vision, it's Professor Bear's day. Ruling the game, coming hard, paving his way. Thoughtful and smart, yeah, the wisdom of man. In a world full of shadows, he's breaking the cap. Tightening up knowledge, hear the people cheer. With every step forward, he's shifting the gears. Professor Bear, yeah, he's claiming the state. With the power of wisdom, watch the ground shake. No mountain too high, no challenge too tough. When you roll with the bear, you know it's
beginnings on the cusp. Not too old to adjust. Old dog, new tricks. Remember, I was just a pup. Something dirty in my cup. Clean soul, good karma.
Wrestling Society Network. History, heart, and two paws up, baby. This is a Bear's Thoughts, breaking down the legends, the stories that shaped the squared circle. Professor Bear, old school wrestling like you ain't never heard before. Hosted by the man with more knowledge than steel cages got steel. Only on the Wrestling Society Network.
Welcome, and thank you for joining me today. I am Professor Bear, and this is a Bear's Thoughts. And today, our show is sponsored by Tag Team Toys and Collectibles and Chops Cards and Print on Demands. Now, today is a start of something very special for myself and for all my different guests. I thought about it, was sitting around one day and thinking about, man, there are so many different podcasters that do what we do. And I got to thinking, even though this is competition for everybody, why not celebrate with different people, share their journeys and where they came from and why they got into the podcasting game like myself. So I decided, you know what? Let's have a celebration month to give thanks to other podcasters and to tell their stories, because even though we do the same thing, we are not the same. We have different angles, different ways of looking at this. So this month, January 2026, this is my way of giving back to all the different wrestling podcasts out there. So this is not only for you, the fans, but also for all the different wrestling podcasters out there. This is Wrestling's Podcaster Appreciation Month. And I could not think of a better way of starting this month off with my friend, Stanley Karr, whose podcasting journey we talked about before, but we're going to talk about it again. And I believe in what he's doing. He's so unique, and to me, believes more in giving than receiving. Stanley, how are you doing this morning, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. So glad to be back here with you, speaking to you today. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, man. Again, with so many different podcasters that are out there, I cannot think of anyone that comes close to what you do, and it it's so encouraging, even if you're not the necessary giving type. And I full transgression, it takes sometimes I have to think before I understand about giving. I love what you do. I've seen it since I even before I started doing podcasting, and I just really enjoy your take on it and being able to give back and to donate. That it's just amazing.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
So for all the fans who hadn't watched our first interview, let's go back into it a little bit. How did you start becoming a wrestling fan? Oh, excuse me, not start, but when did you become a wrestling fan?
Wow. I would say about 4 or 5 years old. My father and I would always bond together doing things, whether it was just driving up the road, getting ice cream, or going to the library or what have you. We would watch TV together. When I was a little kid, we'd always watch like the Disney Channel or PBS or whatever. He'd sit down, watch it with me. So, one night, I just decided to, join him watching whatever he was watching. And one night happened to be wrestling. It was The Rock was on. He was wearing his shirt, his flannel shirt with the sunglasses and the sideburns. And this is the height of the Attitude Era. And from there, I was just hooked right away. Just charismatic guys, larger than life, big, tough. I was like, man, I got to watch this. So the rest is history.
So from there, how did it translate over to you wanting to be a podcaster?
So I come from a radio background. So I've had 10 years experience doing music shows, and I just had a piano show I was working on, doing a show devoted to piano players in a variety of genres of music. So I did that for 10 years recently, just finished that show, but I was doing that, and I was also doing a 3-hour weekly show at my college and doing some commercial radio work as well. Um, I had about a few years ago, I had attended my first WrestleMania. It was 2022. It was the WrestleMania where Stone Cold returned to wrestle Kevin Owens. It was his first match in like 20 years. And I just kind of caught the bug little by little of just wanting to kind of get involved in it somehow. And I'd also attended SummerSlam in my hometown of Nashville, Tennessee. And so I'd also at the same time enrolled in taking a podcast class where I was working at the time at a community college. So taking this class, I knew I wanted to not do a music podcast because I was already doing a bunch of music related shows already. So I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I was like, this is probably a perfect time to do a wrestling podcast. But if I'm going to do a wrestling podcast, I got to do something different, something original, something that no one or not a lot of people had really done before. There had been maybe a couple solo podcasts, maybe devoted to charity work and volunteering and stuff like that, but not really a full-on podcast really devoted to that. And so I was like, this is a pretty good idea. Why not focus on the human side of professional wrestling? These guys and girls, these men and women are athletes, but they're also human beings that care about people, that care about giving back and making someone's day, and just went off from there.
Again, I love the concept. And one thing that I forgot to mention, guys, girls, you see that QR code right there? That is to Stanley's Facebook page. So you make sure you scan that and you check it out. I promise you, you will have a whole different thought about wrestling just checking his podcast out. I promise you. And you get to know, like he said, the human side of wrestling. It is so amazing. But with that, and you started it and everything, what has been for you the biggest accomplishment that you have done with your podcast?
Well, as of right now, I've reached over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. I've got over 3,000 followers on Facebook. My Instagram is growing. It's seen an uptick. I'm on Threads and Blue Sky as well, so we kind of want to get more followers on those platforms. But we're starting to see an increase, and I'm also on Patreon. So if your listeners or have like an account on Patreon, join and subscribe there as well. We're trying to get content up, and hopefully we can start putting out some exclusive stuff that fans might not get on the YouTube links. And so I'm just trying to kind of figure out ways of kind of engaging with the fans and followers of the podcast, trying to make it more interactive. So that's exciting. And I've also got a book that's going to be coming out later this year. I just finished my first draft, and hopefully by the spring or summer of 2026, it'll be out. So I'm looking forward to hopefully we get some buzz out of it.
That is amazing. What is the biggest thing that doing the podcast has gotten you to realize is like, wow, I would have never imagined this about wrestling?
I think just having these conversations with people are really eye-opening. And when you hear these stories that they're sharing, it's like, oh my gosh, the fact that they've struggled and have been able to overcome a lot in their lives, and they're paying it forward to other people who need it when they're feeling, when they're down on their luck and they're not getting the help that they need. It's like it's a real full circle moment, because they may have been going through stuff, and here they are now. They've been where the other person has been at, and now they're paying it forward. So when you hear these people talk about it, it's like, I feel like I'm touching on something here that I'm covering ground that I think has not been really talked about as much. So I feel like we're onto something here.
With that being said, have you seen more of the wrestlers that you have interviewed that they don't necessarily want the publicity of what they do out there? It's more of I I think of it as like a lot of football players. They do a lot of work behind the scenes, but do not want the recognition for doing it.
Well, it's really more about celebrating the acts of kindness as it is just bragging and patting somebody on the shoulder. It's more about, inspiring someone, going out of their way to do something for other people, whether it is helping, visiting the sick, or helping the homeless, and trying to inspire people to make the world a better place, because we all need, love and kindness in the world, right? We could all use a little bit more of that. So I feel like when you hear these stories and hear these people talk about how they've been able to make a difference, like Devon Dudley was able to put together like fundraisers for women that were going through, breast cancers for single moms. People. It was a foundation for single moms that had breast cancer, right? And so they put together the fundraisers. They raised a lot of money, and they were able to like get them the groceries, and get them the help that they needed, so that they were able to afford certain things and to do certain things, stuff like that. I just think that's so inspiring, to be able to pay it forward to people that need it whenever they're going through something in their life.
That's definitely true. Uh, with me listening to some of your shows, I guess something that I gathered from it is how much time that these guys and girls give of their personal time, which they don't get a lot to begin with, but they freely give it to people in need. And I just I think so highly of them for being able to think outside of themselves, because they easily could say, "Hey, I'm driving to this town. I'm doing this. I don't spend a lot of time with my own family." But you don't see, and you don't that, and that's where, like you said, it's a celebration of the accomplishments that people are doing. And I think that is just so amazing, and definitely needs to be celebrated and to inspire us to be better.
I'll give you another story. So I had Ken Anderson on the show recently, Mr. Kennedy. He's been very involved with doing projects for visiting the troops and giving back to the U.S. military. So going overseas and helping out with that, taking groups of people to visit the troops and entertain them. Make time take time out of their life to talk to them, have conversations, make them feel good about themselves, put a smile on their face when they're in going through battle. I mean, it's like, it's that escape, right? As fans, we're like constantly grinding, with work and with the family and everything. So, uh, life can be hard. So taking 2 or 3 hours out of your day to enjoy a wrestling show takes your mind out of everything that's going on in the world, and puts you in a place where you're engaged, you're excited, you're happy, you're entertained, right? It's like going to a movie.
Definitely. And I guess too, that's what makes, from my point of view, that's what makes your show even better, because again, we're getting to know the human aspect of these wrestlers. And again, they have, we unfortunately, we've had tragedy um in the sport of wrestling, but you still have guys and girls willing to step up and be better than they could be. And just to, like you said, put a smile on someone's face. Like, I know a lot, I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee, and I know a lot of the local wrestlers. They visit the children's hospital and they go to nursing homes, and they don't talk about it because they don't want to be um make it so that it seems braggadocious. But like you said, it's a celebration. Just, and to get us to understand, it's more than just being a celebrity. There's so much more that you can accomplish when you get some status, and never forget about the people that can't do.
Right. I've had a couple people ask me in the past, why do wrestling podcasts? Why not do wrestling and, other things? And I'm like, I think a podcast with a wrestling background, I think it's cool because it's like here you have these people that you see on television, you know, men and women, you know, good guys, bad guys, and then in real life you see what they do, and it just makes for such an interesting show.
It definitely does, and that's why, again, when I had the concept of this celebration, you were one of the first people that came to my mind because, like you show and celebrate what the wrestlers do, I always think to myself, you should be celebrated for
Thank you.
concept, the hard work that you do, and to get us to think about the human side of it. Because, like you said, wrestling is an escape for most of us.
Yeah, yeah.
Why
I mean,
not understand what they are doing and what they sacrifice? It's not just the athletics. It's not just um them making money. It's so much more. And it gives me a better ideal, a better mind state when I'm blessed to meet wrestlers. I'm very respectful. It's like, wow, you do this so much, and oh wow, now I found out you even do this with your time. Where I already respected you, my respect level has went up
thank you.
tremendously
Thank
more.
you. You know, it's like you've heard all the negative stuff over the years, like the dark side of the rings, and you kind of alluded to like with the tragedies and stuff like that. But you never really hear about the good stuff that comes out of professional wrestling, and that's something I wanted to touch on here. And so, um, as a radio guy myself, my one of my goals is to be syndicated, be heard on multiple different radio stations, and I'm already on a few currently. So I'm hoping to grow and get on more radio stations in the new year. As I mentioned, I've got a book that I'm going to be releasing later this year. There's a lot of stuff I'd like to do with this project, this endeavor, because it's I think there's a lot of legs that you have with it and you could do with it.
So, me being older and the way the world is going now, with you being a radio guy, I would think that you would not think that the radio market is dead because of like with streaming service and people doing their own podcasts and that thing. What do you think is the benefit of doing radio?
I just think there's nothing like having that relationship, one-on-one relationship with the listener and being able to have conversations and let them know what's going on in their area. I mean, broadcast television is the same way. You have your news anchors, you have your morning show, and you have your late night local news and your evening news. And so I think it's important to let people know what's going on in the world and in their town locally as well, because wherever you're living, you can get the coverage. And I think having somebody there talk about it, it's more relatable than somebody that doesn't live in another part of the country who may not be as familiar with what's going on in a particular area where someone else that's living in that area might know about, if that makes sense. Like if someone, you know, lives in a certain part of the country, a broadcast anchor or radio personality in that town would be able to give more, have that local flavor as opposed to someone else that may not live there.
So with that being said, then um and you talked about earlier you wanting to be syndicated. Would that then incorporate different hosts in different areas to
Well, I think there's room for both. I think that syndication, I think there's more, there's always room for opportunity. And so me being syndicated, I think, being heard around, in different parts of the country, I think that's a good thing. It gives people more exposure than they might not necessarily get if they were just local. But I definitely think there's room for having both of those opportunities around. So I think this show, has a lot of potential to be heard by so many different people in different platforms, that I think this would be a great vehicle for that.
And I love that response. And honestly, I had never thought about it that way. And I think you're onto something more, because like you said, something locally is definitely going to impact those people more versus a wider view. But in the same token, you have, like you said, you have room for both. And but that speaks to you as a person and your background, that you're able to think so far ahead. And as I would coin you, you're multimedia. You think you have so many different ideas, but able to contain them and see the bigger picture while moving slow, steady, and precise. And I love hearing that, because I think a lot of times, that I can only speak for myself, I have so many different ideas, but sometimes I don't think about the larger picture. And I get so drawn into one thing, then I'm down a rabbit hole, then I try to veer over, do something else, and I have to take 3 steps back to get 1 step ahead. But again, that's why I love your how can I love your drive. And and I've told you this the last time, and I do mean this from my heart. You inspire me to be better than I am. You inspire me to do more, to try to use the little fame that I have, to be able to give back, to put an eye on different things. And with my thoughts, and the original reason why I got into this is my love for wrestling. And I thought, man, let me help a local guy or girl. Let me maybe get someone to put an eye on them, and maybe it'll help them grow to where they want to be. But your platform is so much bigger and bolder, and again, it needs to be celebrated a lot more, I believe.
I appreciate that. It's just, I think that when you're going to a concept like this in a market where, there's so many different wrestling podcasts out there. So you have to come up with something that stands out, that's different, right? There's so many different podcasts that review the weekly shows, so many different podcasts that have talent on to talk about their careers. But a podcast that has talent on, that talks about their life outside of the ring as well as inside of the ring, hasn't really been done before. And I feel like with my show, I've hit a goal here where I'm able to tell these stories, but tell it in a different way, that from looking at it from a different side, that maybe not many people have really thought about before.
Yes, definitely. So, in this new year of 2026, you talked about your book coming out. You talked about wanting to possibly be syndicated, to have your show put on more radio stations. What is your main goal for 2026?
Well, I'd always like to interview some more, bigger stars. I'd like to get a mix of both independent and bigger names. I'd love to reach out to some folks from both legends and from some of the bigger companies, and I hope that we can make that happen.
Man, with your drive and such a great platform, I have no doubt that you will accomplish that. I think that your name is just doing nothing but getting bigger, and the concept you've done is just amazing. And I don't want to keep sounding like a fanboy, but I can't help it because I am truly a fan, and I'm very passionate about you doing good throughout everything, because this transcends over companies, rivalries, any of the things that we take serious. You show that it's not that serious, and there is more serious things out there that we can do to make ourselves just better. And like you said, everyone needs love. Everyone needs to feel appreciated. And as a person who's now starting to deal with people knowing me and becoming, again, air quotes, famous, it makes me think differently and be appreciative of the people that take time to listen and to celebrate what we do. And again, this is why I'm having this month. I appreciate you. Anything that you ever need from me or my company WSN, we'll be glad to help. Again, thank you so very much for everything you're doing. Again, continue your stride, continue luck. And is there anything else you would like to say or shout out anyone?
Just want to promote the Facebook page. Go to facebook.com, Punch in Wrestling with Heart with Stanley Karr. We're on Instagram at Wrestling with Heart. We're on Blue Sky at Wrestling with Heart, .bsky.social, and we're on Threads at Wrestling with Heart. We're also on wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, iHeart, and look for the book coming out, Champions for a Cause, Volume 1.
And if you're anything like me, and I am a visual person, so if I can't see it, it's hard for me. You have a QR code up there. There is no excuse. Well, oh, I forgot. He talked too fast, or I'm gonna go back. No, scan the QR code and go to his site. And if you would, make sure you promote his site, because this is bigger than all of us. This is giving people a ideal of we can be better. So if you have contacts in WWE, AEW, TNA, any of the bigger major promotions, please, as a favor to Professor Bear, let them know about Stanley's podcast and help him get this to grow, because this is something that is bigger than all of us, and just to help can help us grow, help the cause grow, and it's just one little step. So Stanley, man, again, anytime you want to be on, anything I can do, please reach out. Again, I always appreciate you taking the time to come on my show, guy.
Will do. And thank you for having me as a guest. I really do appreciate it. And thank you for what you do, providing a platform for different podcasters to come on here and talk about their shows and everything that they're doing. And it's been a real honor.
Thank you. Guys, girls, thank you so much for watching this podcast. Again, this is a celebration this month on all different podcasts. So if you don't get a chance to watch, hey, we are on Spotify. You can listen while you go to work or while you work out. You can listen. But again, thank you for joining us. I am Professor Bear. This is Bear's Thought, and we will be back around the campfire very, very soon. Y'all take care.